A comprehensive guide to the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible is a sacred text in Christianity, regarded as the inspired Word of God, and central to the faith and practice of Christians around the world. The Bible is divided into two main sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The Old Testament contains 46 books, and is primarily written in Hebrew, with some portions in Aramaic. It is a compilation of various genres, including historical narratives, laws, poetry, prophecy, and wisdom literature. The Old Testament begins with the creation of the world, and traces the history of the Israelites, God's chosen people, through their trials, triumphs, and relationship with God. The books of the Bible were written by various authors over many centuries, and cover a range of genres, including historical narratives, poetry, prophecy, and letters. Below is a brief introduction to the structure and authorship of each book of the Bible, along with the number of chapters in each. Old Testament. Genesis, attributed to Moses. Genesis consists of 50 chapters, and details the creation of the world, the early history of humanity, and the patriarchal history of the Israelite people. Exodus, also attributed to Moses. Exodus has 40 chapters, and recounts the story of the Israelites' enslavement in Egypt, their liberation, and the establishment of the covenant with God at Mount Sinai. Leviticus. Moses is the traditional author of Leviticus, which has 27 chapters, and focuses on laws and regulations for worship and religious ceremonies. Numbers, attributed to Moses. Numbers contains 36 chapters, and narrates the Israelites' wanderings in the desert, and their preparations to enter the Promised Land. Deuteronomy. Moses is also credited with Deuteronomy, which has 34 chapters, and is a series of speeches by Moses, reviewing the laws given to the Israelites. Joshua, traditionally attributed to Joshua. This book has 24 chapters, and describes the Israelites' conquest and settlement of Canaan. Judges. Samuel is traditionally credited with Judges, which has 21 chapters, and covers the period of Israel's history when judges ruled the land. Ruth, attributed to Samuel. Ruth has 4 chapters, and tells the story of a Moabite woman who becomes an ancestor of King David. 1 Samuel, traditionally attributed to Samuel. This book has 31 chapters, and details the life of Samuel, the rise of King Saul, and the early life of David. 2 Samuel, also attributed to Samuel. It contains 24 chapters, and covers the reign of King David. 1 Kings, attributed to Jeremiah. 1 Kings has 22 chapters, and recounts the history of Israel, from the death of David to the reign of Ahab. 2 Kings. Jeremiah is also credited with 2 Kings, which has 25 chapters, and continues the history up to the Babylonian exile. 1 Chronicles, traditionally attributed to Ezra. 1 Chronicles has 29 chapters, and focuses on the history of Israel, from Adam to King David. 2 Chronicles, also attributed to Ezra. It contains 36 chapters, and continues the history, from Solomon to the Babylonian exile. Ezra. Ezra is the attributed author, and the book has 10 chapters, detailing the return of the Jews from exile, and the rebuilding of the temple. Nehemiah, traditionally attributed to Nehemiah. This book has 13 chapters, and recounts the rebuilding of Jerusalem's walls, and the reforms of Nehemiah. Esther, attributed to Mordecai. Esther has 10 chapters, and tells the story of a Jewish queen of Persia, who saves her people from genocide. Job, traditionally attributed to Moses. Job has 42 chapters, and explores themes of suffering and divine justice. Psalms, various authors, primarily David, contributed to the 150 chapters of Psalms, which are a collection of songs and prayers. Proverbs, attributed to Solomon, and Aga. Proverbs has 31 chapters of wisdom literature. Ecclesiastes, Solomon is traditionally credited with Ecclesiastes, which has 12 chapters, and reflects on the meaning of life, and the best way to live. Song of Solomon, attributed to Solomon, this book has 8 chapters, and is a collection of love poems. Isaiah, attributed to Isaiah, this prophetic book has 66 chapters, and contains messages of judgment and hope. Jeremiah is the author of this book, which has 52 chapters, and focuses on his prophecies of Jerusalem's fall. Lamentations, also attributed to Jeremiah, Lamentations has 5 chapters of poetic laments over the destruction of Jerusalem. Ezekiel, attributed to Ezekiel, this book has 48 chapters, and contains his visions and prophecies. Daniel is the traditional author, and the book has 12 chapters of stories and visions. Hosea, attributed to Hosea, this book has 14 chapters, and contains his prophecies and marriage metaphor. Joel is the author of this book, which has 3 chapters, and focuses on a locust plague and the day of the Lord. Amos, attributed to Amos, this book has 9 chapters of his prophecies against Israel's social injustices. Obadiah is the author of this single-chapter book, which prophesies against Edom. Jonah, attributed to Jonah, this book has 4 chapters, and tells the story of his mission to Nineveh. Micah is the author, and his book has 7 chapters of prophecies against Israel and Judah. Nahum, attributed to Nahum, this book has 3 chapters, and focuses on the fall of Nineveh. Habakkuk is the author of this 3-chapter book, which questions God's justice. Zephaniah, attributed to Zephaniah, this book has 3 chapters, and contains his prophecies of judgment and restoration. Haggai is the author of this 2-chapter book, which encourages the rebuilding of the temple. Zechariah, attributed to Zechariah, this book has 14 chapters of visions and prophecies. Malachi is the author of this 4-chapter book, which contains his prophecies and teachings. Tobit, author is traditionally unknown. Tobit is a story about a righteous Israelite of the tribe of Naphtali named Tobit. Judith, author is traditionally unknown. Judith tells the story of a courageous Jewish widow who saves her people. Wisdom of Solomon, author is traditionally attributed to Solomon. The Book of Wisdom, also known as the Wisdom of Solomon, provides moral teachings and reflections on divine wisdom, contrasting the fate of the righteous and the wicked. Sirach, author is Jesus ben Sirach. It covers various aspects of life, providing guidance on how to live a pious and ethical life. Baruch, author is Baruch, the secretary of the prophet Jeremiah. It includes a confession of sins by the Jewish exiles in Babylon, and a letter attributed to Jeremiah. 1 Maccabees, author is traditionally unknown. It details the struggles and victories in securing Jewish independence. 2 2 Maccabees, author is traditionally unknown. It provides theological insights and emphasizes the role of God in the events. It includes the martyrdom of Eleazar and the 7 brothers. In this video, we learned about the Old Testament. In the next video, we will learn about the New Testament. Until then, let's commit to reading at least one Bible chapter daily. Let's unite in our faith and set an example for our children. By observing us, our children will be inspired to read the Word of God and live forever in His embrace.
Thank you. We will see in the next video. Until next time, may blessings guide your path.